It's been amazing watching Klay Thompson since he joined the Dallas Mavericks. His fit on Golden State was so perfect, I thought he wouldn't be nearly as good on any other team, but Dallas is almost like it was made for him. Having Luka, arguably the best playmaker in the league that also demands so much attention, is perfect for Klay Thompson and lets him thrive even if it's in a lesser role. Okay, we all know how good of a shooter Klay is. Most 3-pointers in a game, 37 points in a quarter, 60 points on 11 dribbles, I could go on. And even though you can't lose your shooting like your athleticism or something, Klay hasn't been nearly as good as he used to be. Ever since tearing his ACL in 2019 and then his Achilles right after, he hasn't been able to catch a break. Which is understandable. Those are literally the worst injuries in sports, and he had both of them. If this was like 20 years ago, he probably would have retired already, but he's still here and a very respectable player. The big issue he had at the end with the Warriors is that his contract he earned before the injury was still there and was holding the team back. Even though fans could understand where Klay was coming from, they just couldn't ignore who he used to be and the fact that he was still taking over $40 million a year in his last 2 years. They couldn't upgrade their roster to follow up their championship year, and it was just a letdown, especially with you don't know how long Curry can still keep up this amazing level of play. And the thing that made it worse wasn't that he was just simply underperforming, it was worse than it had to be. He felt the need to prove himself after the injuries. People didn't look at him the same, and that's because he wasn't the same, but he still felt like he had to prove something. So he forced up shots, sometimes shooting the Warriors out of games, and was very inefficient. Since he missed a whole bunch of shots, he felt the need to make up for it and put up even more bad shots. He was stuck in a positive feedback loop that hurt the Warriors and hurt himself. And of course ended the season shooting 0 for 10 in an elimination game. But since then he's bought into the system again and his play looks so much more natural compared to forcing up heavily contested fadeaways. His shot selection is looking much better now, and he's playing smoothly within his system, and simple basketball is a much better brand of basketball to play. It works backwards, where sometimes the less you force something, the more likely you're actually going to achieve it. And if he naturally gets into a rhythm, like that's all he could ask for, and that's perfect for him. But how does Klay actually fit in with the Mavericks so well? Jason Kidd has a pretty good system that can fit Klay Thompson in so well. They love playing a Spain pick and roll, which is perfect since the defense often likes to blitz or double Luka sometimes, and the threat of the roller and Klay popping out to the 3-point line is too much to handle sometimes. Jason Kidd pulled this out on opening night, and it was perfect. Klay can set the screen for the big man and then pop out, making the defense choose between an open dunk or an open 3. And then they ran the same play 2 minutes later, but this time Klay faked the screen and was left wide open once again. Simple plays like these work wonders, and this is why I love his fit on the Mavericks. There is so much the defense has to worry about in situations like these. First of all, Luka is an ISO machine, and especially if you give him a switch on the big man, it's game over. It's hard to double team him as well because he has some of the best eyes in the game and can make perfect reads. He's a huge reason why Daniel Gafford, of all people, has the highest field goal percentage in the league right now at 72%. But then you throw in Klay Thompson as another option Luka can kick it to, and it adds a whole other level. I didn't even mention Kyrie, which Klay can also play off of as well. This is actually a dream scenario for Klay, and even though he hasn't put up the craziest numbers yet, I do expect him to get better further into the season when he gets used to the system even more and develops that chemistry and rhythm that all shooters need. So far he's had some hot games, but his consistency still isn't there. He started off the season hot, averaging 20 points on 45% shooting from 3 in his first 3 games, and also when he played the Warriors at home for the first time, which was a big game, he showed out, dropping 22 points on 50% from behind the arc. And these are great because they show he can still play at a high level, but it's just not consistent enough. There's been a few too many games where he has single-digit points and just doesn't have a big impact on the game, but I expect this to turn around. Not saying that he's going to be like his old self or anything, but he could be a reliable spot-up shooter giving you a consistent 15 to 17 points a game, which might not sound like the most impressive thing in the world, but in the playoffs when it matters, the Mavericks want to hit that upper level that they've been missing out on for years, and having a veteran with championship experience on a good contract is something that just can't be overlooked. Klay is an amazing fit for the Mavericks, and the Mavericks are an amazing fit for him. Hopefully he gets into a rhythm later into the season and he can show the world that he can still ball out.